Hello, Ms. Huan, everyone. I'm Huyền from class SMk03, and welcome to my presentation on section 3 and 4 of sensory marketing. Today, we will be diving deep into two of the most powerful senses that shape consumer behavior: vision and sound. These sensory channels are not just elements of marketing, they are the fundamental drivers of how consumers perceive, experience, and connect with brands. Throughout my presentation, we will uncover the science behind sensory perception, explore cultural differences in sensory interpretation, and examine real world applications that demonstrate the transformative power of sensory marketing. Let's begin with Section 3, Sensory Principles for Vision. This chapter provides an overview of the sense of vision and its significance in sensory marketing. It explores the characteristics of vision, its role in different cultures, and the importance of visual cues and stimuli for brands, products, and service environments. By the end of this chapter, you will be able to explain how vision works at the individual level, discuss its role in various societal cultures, analyze the importance of visual cues for brands and environment, and finally describe the practical applications in marketing. Let's start with a fundamental truth about human perception: the sense of vision, one of the most prominent senses for humans in perceiving and experiencing brands, products, and service environments. It is generally considered the most important sense among the five. For companies, this means capturing attention through vision and visualization to convey the brand identity, emotions, and values. Visual cues and stimuli influence consumer purchase behavior, especially regarding consumption, sales, and product selection. In today's global consumption culture, the importance of vision is reflected in digital photos, movies, and social media platforms like Instagram and Facebook. While advertising and commercials have traditionally dominated brand awareness, other visual cues such as color, design, lighting, name, shape, and packaging are now equally significant in shaping perceptions and experiences. Now let's examine the intricate workings of vision from both sociological and psychological perspective. Moving on with sociological aspects. When we talk about visual perception, we're discussing something truly remarkable. Vision is regarded as the most powerful and seductive sense. Approximately 70% of all sensory information is delivered to the brain via the eyes. Visual perception is the process of interpreting visual impressions and combining them into a meaningful whole, forming the basis for decision making and personal actions. Key brain functions involved include visual awareness, visual discrimination, and visual memory. The eye, as the main sensory organ, contains two-thirds of the body's sensory cells. Light enters the eye, is refracted by the cornea and lens, passes through the vitreous body, and is projected onto the retina. The retina sensors send signals to the visual cortex via the optic nerve. The eye is often compared to a camera, with the pupil as the aperture, the lens as the focusing element, and the retina as the film. The eyes allows us to perceive differences and contrasts, such as light or dark, and big or small, and recognize six basic colors, including red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet. Visual interpretation is enhanced by multisensory input, making perception more accurate than vision alone. Moving to the psychological dimension, let's explore how visual information affects our cognitive and emotional responses. Since the 1960s, research has shown that people recall ads with images more easily than those without. Visual information is superior to verbal information in advertising, and consistency between visual and verbal cues reinforces memory. Visually oriented ads are more effective, creating positive attitudes toward brands and communicating product characteristics. Visual ads also trigger stronger emotional reactions, leading to more positive attitudes and higher purchasing intentions. Emotions can be categorized by valence, including positive emotions such as friendship, joy, love, optimism, create positive balance, while negative emotions such as fear, guilt, sadness, or shame create negative balance. Positive moods enhance creativity and receptivity to advertising, even with brick arguments. Visual cues can trigger both cognitive and affective reactions. such as a car's design, signaling technical advancement and beauty. Aesthetics responses are often generated by sensory characteristics like design and color, rather than functional attributes. Emotion experienced during ads exposure are transferred to the brand, strengthening brand attitudes and influencing future purchasing decisions. Now let's move on to visual perception and societal culture. First of all, what is visual perception? Let me define this important concept. Visual perception is how individuals recognize and interpret visual cues and stimuli from their environment. This process is selective as people notice stimuli relevant to their interests, motivations, and social context. Visual perception is unique to each individual, influencing how they respond to ads, color, design, or packaging. At the individual level, we can see the fascinating variations. Some people notice visual stimuli like color or design faster than others, registering information in the brain more quickly. Individuals with strong visual preferences process visual information more efficiently, while others may need support. Some can create vivid mental images without external cues, as seen in athletes. And the gender differences that also exist because women generally recognize abstract forms and name the objects more quickly and respond more emotionally to images, while men show greater activity for erotic images. About the group preferences, cultural differences create even more compelling patterns. Cultural differences affect visual perception. The Southeast Asians pay more attention to background elements, while Westerners focus on central objects. The color perception also varies. The Southeast Asians detect color changes over wider areas, while Americans notice changes in the center. Preferences for colors like blue and red differ among Chinese ethnic groups, with blue often perceived as more relaxing. And finally is the visual symbolism. The symbolic power of visual elements cannot be understated because many people buy products as symbols to create a self-image for their own. Symbolic values include color, design, shape, or style, contributing to fantasies about age, gender, or social status. In different cultures, symbols represent objects or products, such as red for Christmas in Sweden, red for Chinese New Year in China. The marketers in Southeast Asia should use folk, taboo, supernatural, or religious meanings through colors, numbers, or symbols. Chinese consumers judge brand names by visual attractiveness, while British consumers focus on auditory appeal. Yeah, which is also an interesting thing about visual symbolism. The physical environment where services are delivered plays a critical role in customer experience. Let's explore how visual elements shape these spaces. The foundation of environmental perception lies in understanding this principle. The individuals perceive the atmosphere of a service environment through visual and other sensory stimuli. The stimulus organism response, aka the SOR model, suggests that different stimuli impact the consumer's emotional states, leading to approach or avoidance behaviors. Classification of stimuli include ambient factors, design factors, and social factors. Visual cues and stimuli are the basis for perceiving and experiencing service environments. Architectural elements have profound psychological impact. High ceilings are important for psychological well-being and are associated with a sense of freedom. Wall contours, curved or straight, can be associated with gender identity. Windows impact cognitive processes and creativity in shopping environments. The presence or absence of windows will affect the feelings of freedom and creativity. Next up, color is also one of the most powerful tools in environmental design. Colors create emotions, similar to ads and commercial messages. Variations in color shades systematically influence feelings toward a brand or product. Blue shades tend to elicit relaxation more than red shades. Each color carries specific associations, such as red with energy and passion, yellow with joy, orange with activity, green with nature, blue with harmony, and purple with luxury. Color perception is highly individual, and preferences impact actions and cognitive interpretations in shopping situations. Lightning can dramatically transform the customer experience. Lightning enhances attention to the retail or service environment and its products. Bright lighting can decrease creativity, while dim lighting provokes more personal and concrete reactions. Lighting can be varied to create attractive environments, such as changing colors to reflect seasons or using specific lighting to enhance product appearance. Next up is about the interior design, which is the overall design approach or sets the stage for customer interaction. The interior design is influential in attracting individuals to a service environment. The threshold areas, the first space encounter, plays a key role in the decision to enter a store because elements such as background surroundings, colors, displays, lighting, shelving, signage, and tables create associations with shoppers' desires and wants. Materials like wood may suggest sustainability, and lastly is about social stimuli. Human elements add another layer of complexity. Social stimuli include the service personnel and other customers. The staff behavior and style can enhance or diminish the overall experience. Customers themselves also act as a social stimuli, contributing to the atmosphere and the inspiring others through their behavior. Now let's examine how visual elements directly impact the brand perception and product evaluation. First of all, it's about visual stimuli. In our visually saturated world, brands face unprecedented challenges and opportunities. Individuals are exposed to hundreds of advertising messages daily through various media. Visuals experience dominates in both physical stores and online platforms, making visual imagery more powerful than ever in brand marketing. Companies must communicate their identity through strong visual elements, through color, design, and logos. The power of advertising lies in its multi-sensory approach. Advertisements generate attention and interest in brands and products, building long-term brand image and triggering short-term responses. Ads are expressive, combining images, text, color, and sound to influence how people feel, think, and act toward a brand. Emotional advertising can create a wide spectrum of reactions, from joy and excitement to fright or disgust. Color serves as a universal language of emotion and meaning. Color communicates a brand or product's image and meaning by triggering associations. It influences memory recall, purchase retentions, and brand recognition. Different colors are linked to specific emotions, values, or qualities, shaped by culture and experience. For example, black is associated with power, red with love, blue with confidence, gray with quality, yellow with joy, and purple with progress. Bright colors are linked to positivity, while dark colors are associated with seriousness. Color also affects online product perception and pricing cues. Design represents the physical manifestation of a brand personality. Product design draws attention and influences both emotional and cognitive responses, especially through its aesthetic appeal. The appearance or shape of a product often creates the first impression. Design is considered one of the strongest expressions of a brand's sensory identity. The shape of a product brings together multiple elements, including color, logo, material, texture, and ornamentation. Good design enhances sensory pleasure and overall brand appeal, while poor design can lead to rejection. The logo serves as the visual ambassador of the brand. People are generally attracted to aesthetic and stylish logos, which can enhance the overall imagery of both the brand and the company. Most logos use pictures, symbols, or words, often combining abstract icons with brand names. An individual's attitude toward a logo often depends on the sensory pleasure it provides. Color also plays a key role in making logos feel positive and memorable. The brand name carries immense visual and psychological weight. A brand name is a visual stimulus and one of the most important parts of visual communication. A good name creates positive and strong association in people's mind. Established names help people form quick associations faster than advertising or salespeople. A good brand name should be easy to pronounce and remember and can use famous animals, people, events, or places that already exist in consumer memory. Founder names also create strong personal association. Brand personality is when people see a brand and having human traits. Packaging serves as the final visual touchpoint before purchase. For unpackaged products, sensory attributes like look, smell, and feel are important at the point of purchase. For packaged products, external packaging strongly affects how people perceive and like the product before using it. Packaging helps form the brand association, catch attention on shelf, and fulfill both aesthetic and functional tasks. Cute packaging tends to create and increase the tastiness perception but decrease the healthiness perception. Packaging is a hygiene factor. It must function properly and provide necessary information. Packaging has two main dimensions: physicality, like the outer, intermediate, inner layers, and functionality, which is the purchase versus consumption stages. Packaging affects multiple senses, not just sight. Now let's examine a real-world example that demonstrates the power and complexity of visual branding, which is the case of Victoria's Secret. A brand was founded in 1977 by Roy Raymond to transform lingerie shopping from an artwork, male-dominated experience into something elegant and desirable. The brand shifted focus to female customers in 1982, offering tasteful yet sexy lingerie. Victoria's Secret gained massive attention through catalogs, glamorous retail design, the iconic Angels campaigns, and annual fashion shows. However, from the 2010s onwards, it faced criticism for lack of diversity and outdated portrayals of femininity, leading to the cancellation of its fashion show in 2019. The strategic thinking behind the name reveals sophisticated marketing psychology. The name Victoria's Secret was chosen to evoke sophistication, Victoria after Queen Victoria, and intimacy, secret, referring to what is hidden beneath the clothes. This duality made the brand both exclusive and desirable, transforming lingerie into an emotional and identity-driven purchase. The brand's visual identity demonstrates the power of consistent sensory branding. Victoria's Secret uses strong visual elements, a signature pink and black color palette, elegant serif fonts, low lighting, and plush textures in store design, slim and glamorous angels as brand icons, and distinctive pink stripe packaging. These stimuli appeal to sight and emotion, shaping the brand's stimuli multi-sensory experience. Ethical consideration for this case also highlights the evolving nature of visual representation in marketing. The Angels created a strong visual identity, but also reinforced unrealistic beauty standards and lacked diversity. Critics argued the campaign objectified women for the male gaze. In response to social pressures and declining relevance, the brand cancelled its own fashion show in 2019, signaling a shift towards more inclusive branding. As we conclude our exploration of visual sensory principles, let's recap the key insights. This chapter presents and discusses the sensory principles for vision. The main characteristics of vision are described in terms of psychological aspect and sociological aspects. The significance of visual perception is discussed in relation to individual preferences, group preferences, and visual symbolism in societal culture. The chapter also analyzed the visual cues and stimuli in the context of brands, products, and service environments, including architecture, color, lighting, interior design, and social stimuli. The application of visual stimuli in marketing is illustrated through real-world examples, highlighting the significance in practice. Now that we already explored the visual landscape of sensory marketing, let's shift our attention to another incredibly powerful sense, which is hearing. Let's come to section 4, sensory principles for sound. While vision may dominate our conscious awareness, sound will operate on both conscious and subconscious levels, creating emotional connections that can be even more profound than visual stimuli. This chapter will discuss the sensory principles for sound, focusing on both sociological and psychological aspects. It explores the auditory perception, the ear as a sensory organ, and the cognitive and emotional response to sound. The chapter will analyze auditory cues in marketing, especially music and voices, and their impact on service environments and brands or products. Practical applications are also illustrated through real-world examples. Let's begin with the fundamental role of hearing in human experience. The human sense of hearing is fundamental to how we perceive and experience our environment. Sound is always present and plays a key role in shaping identity and social interaction. Even before birth, we are exposed to sounds like a mother's heartbeat. Sound provides information about our surroundings, helps us communicate, and evokes emotions. In marketing, voices and music create memorable sound experiences for brands and products, inducing positive emotions and fostering brand loyalty. Understanding sound requires examining both its sociological and psychological impacts. First of all, it's about the sociological aspects. The mechanics of hearing reveal the complexity of auditory processing. Sound begins as the vibration traveling through the ear, entering the ear canal and striking the eardrum. These vibrations are transmitted through the middle ear bones to the cochlea, where hair cells convert them into electrical signals. These signals travel via the auditory nerve to the brain auditory cortex, where sound is interpreted for pitch, volume, and location. Hearing sensitivity varies among individuals. Unpleasant sounds trigger instinctive discomfort, while pleasant music can induce relaxation. Reactions to sounds are shaped by personal experiences and cultural backgrounds. Brands use curated playlists and optimize speaking voices to convey trustworthiness or excitement, directly influencing customer perception. Move on to the psychological aspect. The emotional power of music and sound is truly remarkable. Music plays a major role in how people feel, think, and make senses of their life. It can improve the emotional, physical, and mental well-being. Music gives meaning by imitating real-life sounds or creating emotional associations with brands, events, or moments. Music can be broken down into three core elements: sound, behavior, and concept. Tempo, pitch, and structure are key components. Music links with emotions through contour, the natural connection, and convention, the experiences and memories. Music reflects both deep personal feelings and universal emotions. Some researchers believe emotion comes from how listeners interpret music, while others argue the music itself causes emotion. The physical reactions like chills or faster breathing, tears, higher heart rate, have been observed when people listen to music. Just as with vision, auditory perception varies significantly across individuals and cultures. So, what is auditory perception? Let me define this crucial concept. It refers to how people receive and interpret sounds cues and stimuli from their environment. These sounds travel through the ear as sound waves and are picked up by the ears. Auditory perception plays a key role in daily life, from driving and business meetings to enjoying music. About the individual preferences, personal sound preferences reveal fascinating patterns about human psychology. Language, sounds, and words act as sensory information in communication, shaping auditory perception and influencing both thoughts and feelings. People often use music to improve their mood and as a form of self expression. Research shows that even without training, many people can appreciate the emotional and aesthetic qualities of music. Children respond positively to new types of music, supporting the idea of musical archetypes, universal emotional patterns in music. Music taste is intertwined with personality, self image, and social circles. Different genres are linked to personality traits and behavior. Higher social classes tend to prefer intellectual genres like classical and jazz, while working classes lean toward country, gospel, or rap. Men prefer hard, energetic music, while women lean towards softer, melodic music. About the group preferences, sound creates powerful bonds within communities. Music is a shared emotional language that reflects individuals and community identity. Every culture and social group uses music to express feelings, share traditions, and create bonds. There are universal elements in music that transcend cultural boundaries, allowing people to sense core emotional messages even without understanding the language or context. Then lastly is about the sound symbolism. The concept of sound symbolism reveals the deep connections between sound and meaning. Sound symbolism is the psychological process where the sounds or words evoke particular meanings or images. Research shows that front vowels are associated with lightness and speed, while back vowels evoke heaviness and richness. These associations hold across languages and cultures. For example, an ice cream named Frost is perceived as richer and creamier than Fritz because of the sound. Now I'm gonna walk you through the service environments. Auditory environments profoundly shape customers' experiences and behaviors. The foundation of sonic branding in service environments begin with this understanding. Auditory stimuli in service environments include music, sound, and voice, which are used to create a pleasant atmosphere and enhance customer experience. These stimulus organism responses, the SOR model, suggest that auditory stimuli impact the customer's emotional states, resulting in approach or avoidance behavior. Next up is about the in-store music. The strategic use of music in retail environments demonstrates sophisticated psychological principles. In-store music affects cognition, for example, perception of service quality, emotion, such as excitement, joy, arousal, and behavior, like time spent and purchasing decisions. The calm music stimulates cognition and encourages positive experiences, while exciting or fast music increases arousal but may reduce attention. The type, tempo, volume, and familiarity of music all influence customer behavior. Foreground and background music affect time perception differently for different age groups. Familiarity with music is crucial to how individuals perceive time spent. Next is about service level. Music role in service quality perception is particularly fascinating. The background music can positively shape how people perceive waiting times, especially in places with long waits. Music in cooking environments creates positive emotions, reducing dissatisfaction and making the wait feel more pleasant. The presence of music leads to stronger emotional responses and improved attitude toward the service provider. And the next one is about music congruence. The concept of musical fits reveal the importance of contextual appropriateness. Music congruence refers to how well the ambient music matches the atmosphere of a service environment. Where music fits the space, customers feel more satisfied and have a more positive emotional response. Congruent music enhances emotional engagement and shapes a favorable attitude toward the environment, increasing the intention to return. And lastly is about music as intimidation. Interestingly, music can also serve as a behavior control mechanism. Music can also be used as a tool of control or intimidation if it feels out of place or uncomfortable for the target audience. For example, playing classical or opera music outside a fast food restaurant can discourage the teenagers from gathering. In public transport, playing classical music has been shown to reduce crime and antisocial behavior. These examples show that music can shape the atmosphere and influence the public behavior. Sound serves as a powerful tool for brand differentiation and emotional connection. The landscape of audio branding encompasses multiple dimensions: music, voices, and sound effects help brands create memorable experiences that strengthen their identity and values. Auditory branding can be natural or invented. Music in advertising influences emotions, moods, and attitudes toward brands and products. Music also affects product evaluation and can trigger emotional engagement and strengthening brand meaning. The strategic use of music in advertising demonstrates sophisticated psychological manipulation. Music in advertising can influence people's emotion, moods, and attitude toward brands and products. Even with background music, it enhances auditory perception and brand evaluation. Music congruence with the ad message increases recall and positive attitudes. Emotional music in ads is rated more positively than unexciting sounds. Next is about music in product evaluation. Subtle musical influences can shape product perceptions in surprising ways. Background music in service environments can subtly influence product evaluation. People tend to select products associated with like music and avoid those linked to dislike music. Music also affects mood, which in turn influences product evaluation, especially when the influence is unconscious. The physical and emotional response to music creates powerful marketing opportunities. Hedonic feelings such as joy, excitement, or nostalgia can arise from music embodiment, how we physically and emotionally respond to musical elements. Fast-paced and high-pitched music are generally associated with positive emotions. In marketing, music helps shapes cognition and emotion in how we perceive advertising messages. And let's talk about voices in advertising. The human voice carries tremendous persuasive power. Tone and rate of speech are significant in voice-based advertising. Listeners prefer a speaker with a lower tone, perceiving them as a more credible and empathetic. Brands pronounced clearly and loudly, especially with phonetic repetition, are evaluated more favorably. A faster speech rate makes the speaker seem more knowledgeable and compelling, but a slower rate allows for easier cognitive evaluation. And lastly is about sound symbolism. The relationship between sound and meaning extends directly to brand perception. Sound symbolism refers to how the sounds of words provide cues about their meaning, influencing perception of brands and products. Phonetic symbolism can affect the brand name perceptions across language and cultures. Audi branding includes all types of sounds that establish a brand's identity, such as audio logos, jingles, brand voices, sound icons, and corporate anthems is also counted. To have a better understanding of this chapter, let's examine how one of the world's most successful brands has mastered sonic branding, which is Coca-Cola. Has a long integrated music into its branding strategy to build emotional connections and engage customers. From using opera singers in the 19th century print ads to making music and artists a standard in 1950s commercials, music is a part of the brand's DNA. Campaigns such as "I'd like to buy a roll of the roll of Coke," "Open Happiness," and "Taste the Feeling" combine visual storytelling with music and audio signatures. Coca-Cola five-note melody, audio signature, and the sound of the bottle cap are distinguished elements in its sonic branding. The company believes the right music strengthens the brand experience and drives sales by connecting with customers on a deeper emotional level. As we conclude our exploration of auditory sensory principles, let's summarize the key insights. This chapter discusses the sensory principles of sound, focusing on both sociological and psychological aspects. It covers auditory perception, the ear as a sensory organ, and cognitive and emotional responsive to sounds. The chapter analyzed auditory cues in marketing, especially music and voices, and their impact on service environments and brands' products. The applications are also illustrated through real-world and practical examples, emphasizing the significance of auditory stimuli in marketing practice. Here is all of the references that is used in these two chapters, two sections of sensory marketing. As we conclude this comprehensive exploration of sensory marketing principles, we've uncovered the profound impact that vision and sound have on consumer behavior and brand perception. These two senses work in concert to create rich, memorable experiences that go far beyond simple product features or rational benefits. The science is clear: consumers don't just buy products, they buy experiences, emotions, and identities. By understanding and strategically applying these principles of visual and auditory perception, the marketers can create more meaningful connections with their audiences, drive stronger emotional engagement, and ultimately build a more successful brand. Future of marketing lies it's not in louder messages or more instructive advertising, but in more sophisticated, scientifically informed approaches to sensory experience design. The brands that master these principles will be the ones that thrive in our increasingly complex and competitive marketplace. And that's also the end of my presentation on section 3 and 4 of sensory marketing. Thank you so much for all of your attention.